What's happening? We're moving on to the next stages of getting these rockers put in. When I left you, we were trying to get some final fitment, trimming, and so on and so forth. And I want to kind of give you guys a heads up on how I prepared this panel. Now, I spoke about using phosphoric acid and neutralizing. There was some rust along the bottom of this pinch weld, and then inside where I'm going to section the rocker in, both there and in this back area. And it is now coated after it's been treated with phosphoric acid, and that was neutralized with water. Now, I don't mean running a hose in here, but it's been treated. I want to show you. So let's take a look. I think I spoke the other day. It's very important that you get, it's kind of dark in here, but you can't have any scale anywhere on these edges. I try and get it about an inch away if I can. You can see up here that's probably only about a half an inch or a quarter inch where I've peeled the paint back. That's sufficient because I'm just going to sit here and tack weld, and then join all those tacks together once that gets done. But I used wire brushes, wire wheels. I actually ended up using a file. The other thing is you don't want a big metal burr on these edges. What I found is that metal burr catches on fire the minute you zzz with your MIG gun, and it will end up, sometimes it'll blow a hole. This isn't really thin up here. This is, I believe these are 18 gauge or 20 gauge to begin with, so it's not super thin. I think the rockers are 18 gauge, and they tend to get thicker when they get toward the front of the cab. Now, replacement ones are usually straight up 18 gauge. I want to say that those panels I bought are probably 18 gauge. I think I measured them. It's thicker here in the center, so no worries. But I haven't got a whole hell of a lot of lip here to butt weld to, so I'm going to have to be extra careful. There's really no way that I've found to back this up with copper or something as a heat sink so that you draw some of the heat away. But a lot of people don't like this zinc weld through primer. And I'll have to find the can. I think I chucked it in the trash. A lot of people say that, here it is. This is SEM weld through primer. A lot of people say that they have problems with blowouts or spatter or whatever with the weld through primer. I don't put it on the outside, only on the areas I can't get to. I've never had an issue with it. I'll get on the creeper here and see, maybe you guys can see this. But even this zone back here, I mean the first half inch of this was cleaned and has weld through primer on it. So all that rust is treated, and I'll go through after I'm done and come in through these plug holes from the back and spray with the 360-degree spray nozzle on a can of like rust encapsulator or inner panel, that waxy, I guess you can call it undercoating or whatever. That's the way I'll treat that. Sorry, I'm a little slow going. I've been up since about 4 this morning. We got snow, and I thought we were going to have to go out and salt, but it ended up being pretty warm out. So for those of you who don't know, that's my day job. My landscape company plowing snow and salting parking lots and so on. So at any rate, I'm going to get a rocker clamped up here, and then we'll get the welder set up, and we'll bring you guys back and show you what we got. Alright, we got the panel in, and I tack welded it off camera because I want to show you the gaps and kind of how it fits here. I don't have any real crazy gaps. One thing I did have to do, it almost seems like where they rolled this lip, it was a little tighter of a radius, so I kind of had to, even though I marked it and measured it and nibbled at it before, trying to get the perfect fit, I basically had to go along with a little screwdriver and pry it around and make it so that both levels of the metal were flush. So I'll show you what I did. I'm not going to do any welding on camera just because it's boring. There's nothing to see because the camera can't pick it up. But basically, this is what I got. So just a little tack, and these were all the problem spots I had where I had to sort of pry the metal around to get it flush. But she's flush. And one thing I did do, I have some magnets here. Those are out of an old computer hard drive, and I mean old, probably late 80s. But those things are serious. Well, I'll get that off in a minute, but in the previous video I was showing my fitment up in the front here, and I took too much off of it. I kept nibbling away at it, and then I realized that I had too much off of it, so I had a leftover piece of this rocker, and I cut about an inch piece, put weld through primer on it, tacked it to the replacement panel, and then slid it behind here, and then we'll go ahead and butt weld that. That'll work as a heat sink so that I don't melt through this metal up here trying to bridge a gap. But fitment is real good. I'm pleased with it. I'm going to keep welding, and basically the way that I do these, gotta climb up a creeper here, I'll start putting tacks in between tacks and just bounce around, trying not to generate much heat. And then basically you won't have a bead, you'll just have tacks that are connected to one another, just one right behind the other. So you'll bounce back and forth, back and forth, and do it that way. So that's what I have to show you for right now. Just not really a step-by-step watching me do it. I really like to explain it, but I'll show you once it becomes time to dress those welds down. Alright guys, I want to show you one more thing. Okay, so I got this side on. This is all welded. I have not ground those welds down. I'm going to show you that part in the next segment, but you didn't need to watch me sit there and stitch that all day. And I'm back over to the driver's side too, and I'll kind of show you what we got going on here. Basically I started just aligning the two metal parts, and I would stitch here and stitch down here, and basically then I'd start jumping in between those welds and putting another tack. So I got a lot more time on this. I probably have another 2 hours on this one. I probably welded on in an hour already, and then an hour per side to probably dress all the welds down and make sure I don't have any pinholes in it. You definitely have to do some finessing, because like I said, these things are not exact fit. See, this one's proud of the original right there, but in order to get the body line right, that's where it had to be. And the body line's a critical part to me. I can tap this in and make it meet up. You're looking at that going, wow, that's probably a 60 thousandths gap, and it is. But once I tap that over, it'll be real damn close. And then the rest, once these welds are dressed down, will be fiberglass filler over top of that, like Duraglass or whatever. Same thing with the front up here. I mean, it's real tight. It looks real big. I have the wide angle lens on the camera, but that one's a little tighter than the back. That one's probably 40 or 50 thousandths, and it's snug at the top. You know, trying to butt weld, a lot of guys will put a strip of metal either behind this or behind this and tack it on, and then you'll have like a shelf to lay this on. It does make it easier, but I don't like having all that extra metal back there with a seam in it that could corrode. Yeah, I'm going to protect it, but just wanted to show you guys that real quick, and we'll bring you back when it's time to dress the welds. Alright, I said I'd bring you back when the grinding was done on the welds, and it is completed. I think I discussed before, these are the tools that I use. This is a cut-off wheel, and you use it, pretend that crack is your welds, you run it over it this way and move it back and forth. and try and just concentrate on the welds. You can see them right, let's see if the camera will focus. Doesn't like the shiny metal so much. They're not blended in 100%, but that's far enough to take them down. You just really want to be able to get your fiberglass to stick, and you actually want this to be maybe a little bit lower if you can get it lower by pounding it down a little bit or just grinding it a little low. You just don't want that weld zone ground too thin, because you'll start wearing this metal thin, and that's not a good thing. So that's basically where it's at. See, here's a zone that's just not quite as much, and I'll run a wire wheel through there too, because I don't want whatever contamination is in the edge of those when I put the Duraglass on. There's the other thing I use. That's a 36 grit on a China freight die grinder. So I'll give you a quick shot of the other side. I started the filler work over here. I'm not going to roll the light over here, but you'll get the idea. Basically, fiberglass filler. Yeah, the first knuckle on my finger, that's about an inch, and that's not quite an inch wide, and it's just covering those welds. 98% of that will come back off. That's to take care of any pinholes and fill the low area if there is any, and then that'll get wiped all the way down with lightweight filler. So that's going to wrap that up. I just wanted to give you guys kind of a look-see what those welds should look like when you're done with them, or at least how I make them look. I'm not an expert sheet metal welder, but I play one on YouTube. So at any rate, guys, hope everybody has a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.